So, Lamp Life is basically telling the what happened between Toy Story 4, sorry, Toy Story 3, I believe.
No, Toy Story 4.
So,
yeah, it's basically between. Well, remember.
No, keep in mind, like in Toy Story 3, like it was telling the story of like when Bo had basically been sold off, and then so basically what's happening is between Toy Story 3 and Toy Story 4.
Yeah, you're right, actually, because we knew in Toy Story 3 that Bo wasn't around anymore because she was sold.
Yeah.
Toy Story 4 gave us a little bit about the process of it, where Andy was playing outside. Woody got left off outside, and then we saw him trying to save RC, and then Bo Peep was like trying to help out, and then she was being sold off, and then when she was put into the car, that was when she told Woody, please come with me, toys get lost all the time, and then Andy was looking for Woody, and then he's like, no, I have to stay here. So now we finally get to see what Bo's life was during the event of Toy Story 4.
Yeah, so she was sold off to another younger family.
Yep.
And so obviously it shows like all the struggles they would go through that. Like she got broken a couple of times as lamps do, and then she basically didn't between the sisters that kept her. Where they said, I don't want you, and pushed her to the end of the table, and then she ended up basically on the top of the window, and then she effectively got sold again, and it was just then she ended up in like all sorts of like they did like a montage like all sorts of
there was a montage of a whole bunch of families that she went to, and then eventually she was in a college dorm for some reason, and then eventually she was just put on a box said free. It kind of felt like very similar to what happened with Jessie in Toy Story 2, in which when she was being donated, and then eventually that was when the antique place that we saw in Toy Story 4, that's when they picked her, and that's when that was when she was properly glued in, and then eventually she was there for a while, and we saw bits of Gabby, we saw the dummies, and then eventually after a while when she saw what was it, Harmony, and she was like looking around, and then finally she was saying like, I want to go to the playground, and then she had the idea about becoming a lost toy, and that's when she met up with Giggle McDimples, and that's when they decided to become a lost toy, and that's when Woody starts learning about what happened to Bo Peep.
So basically we then go into where she is now, where basically she is just in the playground and basically gets played by all sorts of kids.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so she found a place in that time, and that's when we get to Toy Story 4.
Right, that's right. And I thought it was interesting about how we saw the transition between Toy Story 3 and Toy Story 4, in which we, at the events around Toy Story 3, in which when, Andy was starting to grow up, and then Bo Peep was like transitioning from place to place, as opposed to like in the Toys case, in which when, they head over to Sunnyside because Andy's grown up and he doesn't want to, be with them anymore. He was originally going to take them up to the attic, and then finally, they leave Sunnyside when Lotso was becoming a crazy nut, and then finally, that was when Andy gave them to Bonnie. So they were there for a while, and then we get to see from Bo Peep that she just went through a major transition, from family to family to family, and then college dorm room, and then antique store, and her life was a lot more of a transition. So I can take an understanding on why she didn't feel totally connected with staying with just one family, as opposed to like Woody, in which he had. Well, we don't know about Andy's original owner, because, even though we know in Toy Story 2, in which Andy's mom said he's no family toy, so he belonged to somebody at some point before Andy. So it went from that to Andy to Bonnie, and then he's now doesn't have an owner anymore. So. Yeah.
So, let's face it, like, somewhere down the line, even though they want to focus on original movies, I don't think Toy Story 5 is going to be somewhere down the line. Like,
I don't know. If Lightyear has anything to say about it, but we'll get to that later.
Then, I think they could just argue, well, Lightyear was just a spin-off, let's keep doing Toy Story, I
don't know. A lot of people have been really mixed with Toy Story. I've seen a lot of people saying Toy Story 4 ruined the franchise, or Toy Story 4 expanded the franchise.
Well, Well, you know, like, as long as people are going to keep going to see them, as long as Pixar's going to keep making money off them, I mean, like, you know, I think they've got no choice. I mean, like, the original movies hopefully will do really well, and then they'll turn around and say, okay, well, I think we've done enough Toy Story 4. If there's not enough Toy Story, I think, you know, for one lifetime. But, I mean, in regards to, I mean, if they end up having to go back there again, I guarantee you, I think a Toy Story sequel is going to be somewhere down the line. I don't want them to do it. Like, I'd rather them go back to Ratatouille again, or I'd rather go back to The Incredibles again, or I'd rather go back to another, you know,
Inside Out.
Or do Monsters Inc. 2 finally, you know, like...
I would say, from what we saw with Lightyear, just give Toy Story another 10-year break, at least.
Yeah.
But, this short, I don't know. I mean, out of all the Toy Story shorts that we saw, how do you rank this one?
Well, I think it's necessary because I think everyone wants to know what happened to Bonnie during between 3 and 4. So
Bo Peep.
Bo Peep. Sorry, I don't know I said Bonnie, but I think, you know, with Bo Peep, I think people were genuinely interested in what happens between 3 and 4.
Sure.
So I think, you know, people wanted to see it. So
I think
it is very necessary.
Yeah, I think it was necessary. Sure, it was very similar to Partysaurus Rex, in which we got to get a bit of development with a character that we knew from the franchise, and Bo Peep was definitely one that. Toy Story 1 and 2 was very minor. Toy Story 3, she wasn't in it. So Toy Story 4 was the one that she was in it the most, like, compared to every other Toy Story film. And the fact that she got a focus on, and we got to see a bit of an explanation of what she was up to over the last, 9 years, it was definitely really important. And I think that to get a clarity and understanding about where, what kind of life that she had until leading up into her being a lost toy, I think it's definitely needed. It's definitely a great addition to Toy Story 4. So definitely check it out.
Yeah, definitely check it out.